Meta is about to spend $130 billion this year, mostly towards data centers. And we know that Meta has been far from relevant in comparison to other frontier labs. And yet, Meta is doubling down to spend up to $600 billion by year 2028, which is nearly 2% of the US GDP in a single year. And currently, Meta is finishing up their $30 billion data center in Louisiana that brings up their number closer to 30 data centers in the US alone. So why would Meta continue to dump all this money towards AI? Welcome to Kilobytes Code, where every second counts. Quick shout out to Nvidia, more on them later. We don't necessarily think about Meta when we talk about AI, but Meta's contribution to AI actually goes further back than OpenAI and Anthropic, where in 2013, Meta formed a group called FAIR that released important libraries like PyTorch, different versions of Llama from Llama 1 to Llama 4, as well as different expressions of GAN and many more. As you can see, unlike what we currently think about Meta right now, Meta used to be at the forefront of AI research and innovation until closed proprietary labs like OpenAI and Anthropic started to dominate in performance. And what's worse is that Meta also fell behind in open models against Chinese frontier labs like DeepSeek, Alibaba, Moonshot, and Minimax, as well as more recently, Nvidia actually started to overtake in open model contribution, according to Hugging Face, given their contribution towards Nemotron, Cosmos, and Earth 2. So after a decade of contributing in the AI research and innovation, Meta fell back in both performance against proprietary labs in the US and research against open labs in China. And now Meta is sort of stuck in the middle, worst of both worlds. Now, when we look at Meta's capital expenditures over time, we can see an inflection point right around the DeepSeek moment where they started to increase their capex heavily. DeepSeek released their R1 model back in January 2025, which proved to the world strong capabilities while keeping the cost down to less than $6 million in GPU run cost. And only 3 months after the DeepSeek moment, Meta finally released their next Llama 4 model, which basically flopped, even though benchmarks showed otherwise. And that April sparked a code red moment for Meta to do something drastic. Around June 2025 was when Meta started to change their business model entirely. Mark Zuckerberg went on a spree of acquisition where he took majority ownership stake in Scale AI and poached Alexander Wang to form a new initiative called Super Intelligence Lab. And he followed up making insane offers to top AI talents to join his team. And since then, Meta's capex has not only increased towards AI, but the projected capex over the next 4 years will add up to an insane number in spending. So much so that recently, Meta announced a multi-billion-dollar deal with AMD, as well as multi-year deal with Nvidia to purchase their CPUs, GPUs, and Ethernet switches to fill their growing data centers across the country. And speaking of GPUs from Nvidia, if you're interested to learn more about AI, NVIDIA's GTC conference is coming up from March 16th to 19th. You can join the session Deploying AI Agents at Enterprise Scale online for free. I'll be attending the GTC this year thanks to NVIDIA's invitation to host me with a complimentary badge and stay. And this year's GTC has a lot of interesting topics to go through, from data centers to robotics, as well as all the sessions surrounding Nemotron models, as you can see here. And if you sign up for any session using the link to participate online, I'm doing a giveaway courtesy of NVIDIA for an RTX 4080 Super GPU. And joining sessions online is completely free, so make sure to sign up for the giveaway and take a selfie to qualify. Link in the description. Now, despite Meta's strong cash position, people are still very doubtful towards Meta's ability to actually execute on their AI initiatives. The closest hint that we have in innovation is in Meta AI glasses that uses Llama 3.1 and their first proprietary model that's supposed to drop in early 2026 called Avocado, which supposedly already beat other top open models comparing base model against base model. But around mid-2025, as more and more compute became available, what we started to see is the increase in innovation speed among frontier labs, where new checkpoints were being released every month or every 2 months. So if you factor in other frontier labs that all release on their own schedule, we practically have a new model release every other week. So in a way, Meta is met by this dilemma between going the route similar to Apple and Microsoft, where they're licensing LLMs from other labs, or just compete directly by spending hundreds of billions of dollars in infrastructure. Meta does have a huge upside when we think about their distribution network on platforms like Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram, where each has more than 2 billion active users at a given time. This kind of scale is something that OpenAI and Anthropic just does not have, which means even if Meta is slightly behind innovation, Meta's ability to convert their innovation to revenue dollar is significantly faster and easier than OpenAI and Anthropic. This kind of family apps that Meta has also give them huge access to training data that exists in the form of texts, images, and videos that other frontier labs might not as easily get their hands on. And even if the underlying model isn't as strong, the growing compute demand from agentic use cases will require Meta to use their data centers across the country. But meanwhile, people are still highly skeptical towards Meta given their track record of Metaverse and Llama 4 that both flopped. There are other reasons why people are still nervous about Meta, especially around how they are financing their data centers. Meta's recent data center deal involved off-balance sheet maneuvering to secure financing to cover construction costs while maintaining their credit as if they don't have a direct exposure to a $30 billion debt. And this isn't necessarily because people think Meta can't make the payment per se, but rather it's the involvement of private credit like Blue Owl Capital, unlike a cash cow company Meta, that could crumble, which might trigger a huge domino effect to the rest of the market and the rest of the economy. What do you think? Do you think Meta has a good chance in actually working through all of its difficulties?